What are we calling the show this year?
This is the Patriots Pregame Show, presented by Dunkin.
Patriots Chinwag, Patriots Before the Game Show.
Jones, he's throwing it toward Portland, left corner of the end zone, caught, touchdown New England.
Hey, it's the Patriots.
Patriots Pregame Show is your source for all the latest news and information before every game.
He tucked into the house again.
Here we
and
go.
The Patriots take the lead.
With Hardy,
These two, they're the two best friends that anyone could have.
Mike Dussault,
I mean, it's social. Demented and sad,
But social.
Paul Perillo,
Can't believe we're off the rails 3 minutes into
I'm sorry, did you want to talk about the game?
and Tamara Brown.
Since I joined the show over the summer, there's been a lot less football talk.
Patriots Nation, welcome to the Patriots Pregame Show, presented by Dunkin.
I can't wait. Now, actually, I mean, I don't want to start this off on a false narrative. I could wait. I could wait another 20 or 30 minutes. But if you want me to come into to game number one of the preseason with the can't wait attitude, I'll fake it. You ready? You want to do it? You don't want to re-rack it. You want to start the show. Let's do it. Welcome in to the show, Hardy, Mike Dussault, Tamara Brown, Paul Perillo. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back, everybody. You guys never left. You never leave. You're always here.
That is true. I got to be honest, so Hardy, part of the excitement of tonight, yes, the Patriots are playing, but it's getting to have you back in the studio and work with you. That's the excitement for me right now.
What's been going on? Tell me a story before we begin this Patriots pregame show fueled by Dunkin. And remember, Patriots fans, it's always game on with Dunkin, which is why grabbing a coffee is the most important game day ritual. Because the best call for football is Dunkin', the official coffee of the New England Patriots. America runs on Dunkin'. Tell me your best story of the preseason, of summer, of training camp. Just give me a little something, Deuce. Give me a little slice of life.
Football
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Football,
Doesn't
whatever.
matter.
No, I'm on a vacation.
Tamara's got a great story about a photo she took 15 minutes ago, and she tells the
killed
hell
it.
out of it. But I'll save that for second. You go first.
Well, I was gonna highlight my vacation to Maui, but I wanted to give
don't.
thoughts for the fires that are
Did
going
you go
on
to
out
Maui
there.
for real?
We really
Oh,
did.
like a month ago.
We were right in Lahaina where it burned down. So not to bring the show down. Obviously, we're concerned with everybody over there. Terrible what happened, but that was the first thing that came to mind. So I had a wonderful vacation there, but it's obviously crazy right there now. So hopefully
I mean,
everybody's
I
safe.
was only once for my honeymoon. It was 20 years ago, and we were in Lahaina. I bought a book there. I remember that.
Did you read it?
I did. Heart of the Ocean. It's a great book.
Was that like the Titanic?
No,
like-
no, it's not that. It's not the, maybe Heart of the Sea is actually the name of the book. It's about a whaling vessel. I'll tell you about it later. But we had lunch there, and we went on a whale watch.
4:45 later.
What? Yeah.
Like in between Jaws talk.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
We
All
can.
right. I just
we
wanna
can
make sure.
We
All
can
right.
do 2 hours of Lahaina talk because it's a beautiful town. Devastating what's happened there. A friend of mine has a trip booked there for a month from now. Obviously, she's not worried about herself or her own vacation being just so worried for all the people there in a beautiful town. Terrible, devastating. I know we have listeners in Hawaii, so I hope everybody is safe. But it is it's just awful, awful what's going on.
Yeah, I met a Patriots Unfiltered listener actually while I was in Hawaii. One of the few times I've gotten noticed. Came up to me. Of course, none of my family was with me.
Hold on a second.
It was
Somebody recognized you and
humble brag.
came up to you.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe. Oh,
I
it
don't
doesn't
believe- I
happen to
can't
you guys
believe
all
it
the
either.
time. No, it was great. It was great. I mean, someone was walking by. It's like Deuce out of nowhere. And,
Were you wearing a
that's right.
Patriots logo?
Surprisingly, no.
he had a Patriots Unfiltered T-shirt on.
Yes.
That said his name,
I, was
Mike
I had
Dussault.
I had a boom box and it was playing Patriots Unfiltered. And I was just standing there waiting for somebody to maybe. But none of my family was with me, so nobody believed me.
He's
so.
wearing a Tom Cruise T-shirt from The Color of Money. It just said Vince.
Vince.
Yeah, it says
Deuce.
Deuce. The
I like
Patriots
that. I'm
logo
going to
up
steal
there.
that.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip, but our heart goes out to the people in Maui. Tamara, you got a good off-season story to get things rolling here on this Patriots preseason game number 1 pregame show?
I don't. You gave mine away already.
The photo that you took a little while ago. Where did you take the photo?
Up in our influencer suite.
What
So
is that?
if there are any influencers on here, content creators listening right now, get in contact with us because we have an influencer suite and we would love to have you out to enjoy the game, take pictures, create content, collab, all the things.
I still don't get it. So you go to a different place to take a. It's not for us.
me.
There's a whole
There's balloons. There's a lot of
cute
balloons.
little suite with food.
Is it like an actual suite that they've taken away from a paying like sponsor and blown up balloons and put things in there? I'm just curious as to the finances.
It's ideal for social media. I mean,
It's ideal
great
for
pictures,
social. Like,
and, perfect.
just picture like the
Am I not
TikTok
supposed
aesthetic.
to ask that question?
The TikTok
I just
aesthetic.
wish I had answers for you.
Like, just think of TikTok and Instagram, like all those fabulous photos that you see Instagram influencers take. It's going to happen in our suite in the stadium.
Okay. The stuff that I look at on Instagram or TikTok, which are, I'm just now learning, when you go on Instagram and start looking at the reels, a lot of those are from TikTok. My algorithm shows me mostly people falling down and hurting themselves.
What
That's what I
is
get.
going
Pure comedy. Pure comedy.
A lot of bicycle and skateboarding type of injuries and stuff like that, and golf. That's mostly what I get.
So it's usually based off things that you've been Googling or searching or like, are you Googling those things?
That tracks.
Guy falling
Okay.
off bike.
That checks out.
Give it to me now.
I mean, that's no.
What about a guy
Just
falling off a scooter? How about
pictures
that
of
one?
beautiful people like you standing in front of like beautiful backdrops. Not
Balloons.
once has that popped up in my feed.
Well, now because
Now
your
it will.
phone is
Now-
listening
oh,
to
man.
us have this conversation, it's going to pop up.
Which, by the way, I don't mind. People talk about that all the time. It's like, dude, your phone is listening to me. I said, I know it's great. I was looking for shoes, and then
Here it is.
I mentioned it, and here's an ad from DSW. It makes my life easier.
It does.
I have nothing to hide. Help me. Help me spend my money.
Freaks me out a little bit.
I don't. You know what? That
Little
also
bit.
tracks.
Just,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah. See,
I was joking around today. Like, you guys know I'm not a big live music guy. Concerts, not really for me.
It's the last
right?
concert you saw.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, 2007 Super Bowl.
Well, there's been a few post game.
J-Lo after party.
J-Lo,
Minnesota.
Pitbull. Those
Non-Super Bowl party.
Yeah, non-Super
concert.
Bowl. Yeah, it's been a minute, as the kids like to say.
Okay.
So I'm not a big concert goer, but every time Earth, Wind, and Fire is in town, I get the notification on my phone.
Right.
And I know that's only because I'm always talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Or because
I've never seen them. Like, I never gone to a concert. I've never paid to go see them. I saw them after the Super Bowl one year.
What type of this is going to be funny. What type of music streaming service do you use?
Radio.
Whatever's on the phone here. Amazon. AM. No, whatever what is it? Amazon Music on
Oh,
here?
you do use
Yeah,
that. All
yeah.
right. Well, it's all connected. It's probably just picking it up from there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You got nothing to hide. You got nothing to be ashamed of. Paul, you got a good story from the off season, from the preseason, from camp, anything?
Do I have any good stories, Mike?
I mean, the punting battle's been all Paul's talking about the whole time, so we can't get him to shut up about that.
I don't think I have anything worthy of sharing, but I'm sure something will come to me later.
Okay. Well, great start to the season. Really good stuff. Let us do an actual pregame show here today by talking about the keys to the game.
Why did you leave the keys up on the table? You wanted to. You've waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Without these keys, the Patriots are destined and doomed to fail.
Here are Hardy, Paul, Mike, and Tamara's keys to the game.
Why did I steal your key to the game also? Keys to the game are brought to you by Mike, Paul, me, and Tamara. Without these keys, the Patriots will.
Doomed.
Oh, don't lose this one tonight.
know.
You got to get off to
Gotta
a
get
good
that
start
dub.
in the preseason.
I like it.
Whatever you do.
Don't let us lose this one.
Mike, you're up first. Your key to tonight's game. Now, obviously,
Checks notes.
no, the win and the loss not as
No.
important. So, what different keys for
Yeah.
the preseason for sure.
I think we're probably similar area, but find some gamers. Hey, we got a game here. It's going to be live. Let's just see maybe some guys pop a little bit. I remember Julian Edelman returning a punt, his rookie year. Just, what guys kind of show up. The lights come on. The game is real. Tackling is real. There's plenty of guys and candidates to consider. I mean, I was a little bit facetious about Paul in the punting battle, but, I do think the punters, the kickers, some of the young cornerbacks, and certainly some of the young offensive linemen that with some of the issues that they've had along the offensive line. Be great to get those guys some experience tonight. Maybe some of them have a good game, something to build off of over the next couple of weeks, and they can provide some valuable depth that I think they really need along the offensive line.
Find somebody to pop in some way that catches Bill Belichick's eye and says, you know what, we got a football player here. Not sure exactly how or where, but
like Gunner. Remember Gunner a few years? I know. But still, I think with that Giants game, he made the team with playing cornerback, playing a little receiver. Guys like that, they have those performances that kind of are notable and carry over and help guys win jobs.
All right, I like it. Tamara, you got a key?
My key is don't backtrack. So the offense has had some days where they've had a pop or two.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of highlights. I feel like the last few days of camp, like they've kind of gotten in a little groove here. Not all the way. They still have some kinks. But I would love to see them keep moving in that direction and not go backwards. So as far as the offense goes, that's my focus is on them. Obviously, we won't see Mac Jones or anyone out there, so, take that with a grain of salt. But I think it'll be a great day for them to kind of see our running backs, see our young wide receivers, Kayshon Boutte, obviously, Douglas. I think this could be a good day for them and kind of see where our offense is.
No backtrack tracks. I like that. Yeah, that's a good one for preseason game number 1. Paul?
Yeah, I'm with these guys. The offense to me is what I'm going to be focused on, and I think that we're probably not going to see a lot of frontline guys, but I think we will see 3 young receivers, and that's Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, and most importantly out of these 3, I think Tyquan Thornton. So I'd like to see those guys early in the game get involved. I'm not sure this will be the case. I'm hoping Bailey Zappi starts and maybe gets 10 or 12 plays, and they get a chance to get some connections. Maybe 1 or 2 of those guys can catch 1 or 2 passes each, and maybe have some confidence. They should be playing. I mean, I don't know who Houston's going to play, but they have some young talent. Stingley's one of their Derek Stingley, not Daryl. One of their corners. I think you have a chance to see some of those guys. So it's not just about playing against guys that won't be in the league. Early in the game, I'd like to see a little flash from some of those young receivers.
I like it.
If they play.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who knows? My key was to crowd Stroud because it rhymed.
It does.
So
You are nothing if not consistent.
take it, for whatever you mean. Now, honestly, I think this season is setting up, as Tamara mentioned, the inconsistency that we've seen from the offense throughout camp. And I know there are days when they are working on certain things, and they probably tell the defense, hey, take it easy, we're working on some stuff. I don't give full credit to either side for having great days or bad days, because there are days when you're working on certain things. But if you make me decide, I'd say the defense is just better personnel-wise, on paper, talent, whatever, than the offense is. So let's see a little something out of the defense here tonight. We're not going to have a ton of starters out there playing on offense. So let's see the defense get into the backfield, make a mess of things for C.J. Stroud, who is reportedly getting the start tonight for Houston, and see if you can't, show up a little bit early and maybe set the tone for this season, which could very well be a defense that keeps you in games and allows you the opportunity to be close or, heaven forbid, have a lead in the fourth quarter. I think the best the Patriots can hope for, just based on what their schedule looks like, who they'll be facing in the division, is to keep it close. Keep a lot of these games close against Buffalo. If Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers and playing that well for the Jets and their defense is back, you've got some tough competition this year, so keep it close. And how do you keep it close? With your defense. You're not going to get into shootouts with these teams. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation for the Patriots this year, but I liked the defense last year. I think I like them again this year. Let's see something tonight out of the defense.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I do like about your key, Hardy, is Stroud specifically, just that individual. I don't know who's going to play defensively for the Patriots, but even if you can get a couple of guys that will be involved in the Patriots defense during the course of the season to get a couple of reps tonight against a guy that can move around in C.J. Stroud.
Right.
Like a Keon White. Could we get a little Keon White tonight? I mean, maybe.
I think so. I
right?
hope so.
So that might give him some experience playing against some of those zone reads and, maybe, getting disciplined against a mobile quarterback, keeping your containment. that could be valuable for him, say, a month from now when Jalen Hurts is the quarterback.
Yeah, I do wonder how much we're going to see C.J. Stroud. And I mean, you mentioned,
I think he'll start. I don't know how much he'll play.
Yeah, and even that, how much he's going to play. How much is he going to actually run the ball? Are they going to let him even do the read option stuff? But I do think to your point, Paul, it was interesting this week in practice. You saw them repping that stuff. They were giving Malik Cunningham a chance to run some of that kind of offensive.
Yeah, some of those scout
things.
looks, absolutely.
So now is that what they're preparing for with the Texans, or are they even going to maybe run Malik Cunningham a little bit with some of that stuff of their own? I think that might be a possibility as well. It's just tough. You never know exactly who's going to play, and it's hard to extrapolate a performance by the offense or defense tonight, meaning something for the actual offense or
that's
defense.
why I
with,
meant.
the
That's
starters.
why I liked Hardy's thing, crowd Stroud. I know you were being snappy, but just the fact, I don't care, if they lose 34-0 or win 34-0, but they might get a chance to run some plays against that style of quarterback that could help them.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how many of them will be out there. We'll see.
And I saw it too. I was looking through Twitter briefly before the game, and they were saying this could be a good game for Stroud to be playing against a complex defense. Obviously, our starters won't be playing that much, if at all, but they're for him to be able to come into the NFL and play against a defense like the Patriots, could be helpful for them too.
I think so. I mean, you wonder how much they're going to spin the dial on him. I mean, Steve Belichick seems like a lot in team periods. He spins the dial no matter what. They always say these, preseason games are very vanilla. They're not going to run a lot of crazy stuff, but I think the Patriots still are going to do what they do. And, to your point, Hardy, it's largely the same defense back. Devin McCourty's out. They've added, some promising rookies that have been getting some quality snaps. Certainly Christian Gonzalez. I don't know if we'll see him tonight, but how's it all going to come together on defense with some of those new pieces? And on the back end without McCourty, I think those are the big questions.
I think it would just be fun for Stroud to get his welcome to the NFL moment, on the field tonight. And I don't want him to get hurt or anything, but I was talking to Ted Johnson yesterday, I guess. He was on with us on the Sports Hub. And I said, did you have a welcome to the NFL moment? He's like, absolutely. First game. And he's out there, and he was, he's a second-round draft pick, so he feels like, okay, I can play, but you're not sure. And you're out there, bringing it. And I can't remember the story. It'd be better if I could remember, because, Paul, you would know who these players were. But offensive linemen, I think, for the Raiders, they were playing. And he said, oh, look at 53 over here. He really came to play today. And they were giving Ted a hard time. He was 53?
52.
I think he was 52.
He's like, oh, 52
Other
came
than that,
to play.
great story.
Anyway, he said, I was.
Who had 446 for the first time I made fun of Hardy?
That's fine.
Cool story, Hansel.
I have encyclopedic knowledge of every player's number for the last 25 years.
For the record, Mike is the one who corrected you on the number, not Paul.
Whatever.
Yes, thank you.
Him trying to get through the line, he said, these guys were so big and so fast. He couldn't believe how fast they were. He said, we played Nebraska. And that offensive line, he's like, I'm convinced they were all on the juice. They were just monsters, right? But he said,
corn-fed.
These guys weren't even trying. And he said they were so big. I was hitting them as hard as I could. I wasn't moving them an inch. And when I tried any kind of a move, they were there before I was. He said the welcome to the NFL moment happened for him first preseason game within the first couple of snaps, and these guys were laughing at him.
And he said it was the Raiders, huh? So I'm going to go back and look. I'm trying to find. I want to see if I can find.
I mean, he's not.
You know what? Prove me wrong again. I already got the jersey
He was
number
53
wrong.
What I wanted, I'm trying to put.
Thank you.
Well, I want to try to put some of the pieces together with this story.
But
I'll ask him. I'll text him.
I just find it crazy because as a fan at that time,
I suppose I could have done that.
Ted
too.
Johnson came in with a neck
point.
that's 3 feet wide. I mean, he
here it
was
is.
a
I got it.
monster, and even he had struggles with the physicality of the NFL.
What?
NFL Jesus doesn't have the preseason games from that far back, but the fourth preseason game, fourth week, Patriots Raiders, 1995. But unfortunately, it doesn't give me any of the information from the game.
Does it have number 53 in there?
I'm going to repeat. It doesn't give me any of the information from the game.
Hey, I got news for you. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough at the start of the show. I didn't even really want to be here for the first 20 minutes, so I can leave.
Okay, so we basically have moved our way through that first 20 minutes, so we can move on now, right?
I would love to. We're supposed to go behind enemy lines.
Okay. Let's do that.
3 minutes ago, but we can't. We don't have them on the line yet.
Oh, okay. So
we'll get to that eventually.
I can vamp, and I'll go to Mike's favorite topic.
Jaws?
Well, that's my favorite topic. Patriots announced rookie numbers today. Oh, Mike, go ahead.
I'm not going to overreact to these yet, Paul, because I feel like some of them still might be temporary. But I did think it was.
Oh, you mean it was worth reacting to in the first place? Like,
I'm just saying, Behringer getting 9. I think Matthew Judon's going to keep 9. So I wouldn't overreact too much, but I do like Keon White in 99. That's what I will say.
All right, now we can go behind enemy lines. Good vamping. Good job.
You know the view from New England.
We go behind enemy lines.
But what about the view from the other side?
And that's why you're our favorite pregame show guest every year.
You guys know you tell everybody that.
Oh, yeah?
I was on with you guys in 2018 Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
And I was told I was the favorite guest of the show.
Nope.
No.
Time now to go behind enemy lines.
My God, it's coming right for us.
Oh. Well, let us move to the phones here, and we will talk with Brooks Cubina, who maybe recognized one of the voices there in our intro. Brooks with the Houston Chronicle at B Cubina on Twitter. Brooks, thanks for joining us here on the Patriots Pregame Show. How are you?
I'm good. I was trying to deduce what those voices were. I thought they were you guys, but now I'll have to listen back to it, see what I can pick up.
Yeah, I don't have to listen back. John McClain was one of the voices there that you may have recognized.
Okay, all right.
John McClain will forever be known as our greatest all-time guest on the Patriots Pregame Social, and everybody else fights for second place, Brooks. So you're in the running as an alum of the Houston Chronicle. As a member of the Houston Chronicle, you're strongly in the running.
Yeah, that automatically gives you a leg up on everybody else.
Right.
Perfect. Well, here I am to screw it all up.
Hey, Brooks, just curious, what are you expecting tonight from some of the rookies? Do you think that Stroud is going to play a bunch, or how much, if any?
I expect we'll see at least 2 drives from him. This is also the first time we see Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, his offense out there. So there's 2 things going on here. You have your rookie quarterback, but also your rookie play caller as well. So you've got a wide receiver core also that's going to be heavily reliant on rookies too. Tank Dell, 3rd-round pick. Xavier Hutchinson was a nice pick for them in the 6th. I expect with all of that together and a rookie center in Juice Scruggs, it's just not going to be one of those things where you've got a lot of your questions answered like some other teams do, and you play your starter a couple drives and get out of there. So I do expect it to be a little bit more than we're used to. I did a little breakdown of some of the rookie debuts and preseasons, and I think Zach Wilson is an interesting case because another number 2 overall pick with a first-time offensive coordinator in the NFL, and he had close to 30 snaps. So I think we might see something in that range for him tonight.
Do you think that kind of the offense will be the major point of emphasis for the Texans focus tonight, or do you think they'll be looking at some challenges on defense as well?
Well, one of their main challenges on defense was last year they gave up the most rushing yards in team history. It was a huge problem, and a lot of the reason why DeMeco Ryans was such a great candidate for them, not just because he was a former player, but he had the top defense with the 49ers. And they invested a lot on the interior defensive line. They went and got Sheldon Rankins, who played with the Jets last year. He's been playing in that scheme before. DeMeco actually said earlier this week to me that he wanted to get him whenever he was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. But they're back together. They extended Malik Collins. These are 2 starters that they probably know they can handle their business. You probably won't see that much. But the one guy that I know a lot of people are looking forward to is Christian Harris. Last year was a 3rd-round selection, linebacker who struggled a little bit in Lovie Smith's scheme. But I do think in DeMeco's defense, Harris has been looking really good. This is a guy who had a 4.4 40. He's got great range and speed. He's going to be a lot of coverage in this defense. That's what they want these linebackers to do. He can range off the edge, blitz. They're going to try and come from all angles. And Christian Harris, I think, is going to be a huge part of this defense. And he'll play a young guy and he's get into this game as well. So also you've got Jalen Petrie in his 2nd year, a safety who showed a lot of potential last year to force disruption, sacks, interception. So, yeah, I mean, there's there.
Brooks, you guys have been, watching practices for a couple of weeks like we have here. What if I'm curious about your overall thoughts on CJ as well as Will Anderson, the two high picks that you guys made, and what have your thoughts been on how they've looked so far?
Well, C.J. Stroud started off with an up and down preseason, but starting last week, about Thursday, Friday, he made a big comeback from earlier in the week where he threw 3 interceptions in 2 days. He got all of the snaps towards the end of the week, and his passes were on point. I mean, he was putting 20-yard outs toward the sideline over close coverage. He was throwing it deep, hitting people in stride. In red zone drills, he was making the right decisions. He was very accurate. It was very much what he claimed himself to be at the NFL Combine, where he called himself a ball placement specialist. So it was clear once Saturday began that the distance between him and Davis Mills was evident, and D'Amico Ryan named him the starter on Monday. So we expect to see a lot more of that from Stroud today against an opposing defense. How clean is he? How accurate is he? They want everything to be built on timing and efficiency. That's a lot of the reasons why they fell in love with Stroud. So they want to build the offense around him, support him with the run game and things like that. To see that from him, the guy that's been disrupting a lot of that, you brought him up, Will Anderson, obviously number 3 overall pick. The more I see him and the more I study D'Amico Ryan's defense, the more it makes sense why they traded 2 first-round picks in a package to go up and get the guy. They use what's known as a wide 9. It's a schematic scheme where basically they're staking Will Anderson out as far as he can go on the line and just shooting him off the edge. They don't want him to set edges. They don't want him to play around and hold blocks. And they want him going for the quarterback. They want him to go for the kill. And that's what he's done throughout training camp. Obviously, he hasn't been able to take anybody out in full contact. But he gets there so fast that one time he knocked the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands during practice playfully. And then there are other times where he gets back there and just sprints past either the running back, the quarterback, and I can't use the words he says, but it's a let effing go. So he's going to go in there today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action because D'Amico Ryan loves him. He's already pinned him as the object or the window through which you need to see other players. That's a lot of high praise for a rookie, and we should see that from him tonight.
Oh, you really got Mike Dussault's juices flowing talking about the wide 9. It's a distant cousin of the 6'2" stack monster.
You know me too well. You know me too well.
Yeah. But, and Brooks is with the Houston Chronicle here behind enemy lines. You wrote about C.J. Stroud, many looking at him to be the savior, which isn't, a fair ask necessarily. You also pointed out some of the national pundits are saying, I think Colin Cowherd is one that you pointed out, Brooks, that saying like he is, most likely to not live up to expectations, especially considering where he was drafted. How is the mindset of C.J. Stroud? I mean, just in terms of, a person, is he handling all this? Because there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people who want him, but you're talking about an up-and-down camp. You've got some national people expecting him to fail. How is he handling all that?
Well, he said the other day was something that was very interesting to me and kind of confirmed a lot of what I've been hearing about him as someone who's internally driven. He was asked about how he handled the quarterback competition because Bryce Young was named clear the starter in July, and C.J. Stroud obviously was in this battle with Davis Mills. And he said that once he starts changing his mindset, that's where you start getting confused. So really he just looks at himself every day about working. He talked about how on the inside he's battling the guy on the inside of his mind. And for that, that's kind of the drive you see from a lot of players who, despite whatever anybody else says, whether it's Colin Cowherd, me, whoever, the person that they care about the most is the one looking them back in the mirror, that opinion, and how they feel about themselves and the coaches. And D'Amico Ryan said that's a lot of the reason why they like C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, rookies that they wouldn't have picked unless they knew they could handle pressure like this. And it was interesting. Right before the draft began, D'Amico Ryan said whoever they picked number 2 overall, he didn't want them to be that he wasn't going to tell them that they had to be the savior. He wasn't going to put that on them. But, but like you pointed out, a lot of people are going to look at them that way anyway. I mean, this is a fan base that has been in protective dormancy the last 2 years. They want these players to perform and bring back wins, things that they haven't seen in a couple of years. The reason why people are following, reading, watching, wearing Stroud jerseys, all of that. So it's something Stroud has to handle. But back to what he said, he's more focused on what's going on with himself. He's isolated in that, and we'll get to see how that manifests throughout his rookie year. So it'll be one of the very interesting things to watch. Obviously, a good rookie class of quarterbacks. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud will play each other later in the regular season. That makes for some interesting conversation. But all of that begins today.
All right. Well, it's good to talk to you, Brooks Cubina. I hope we get a chance to do it again at some point with the Houston Chronicle at B Cubina. Also do some radio as well, I see. So, you know, we're all just doing the same thing. It sounds like, Brooks, but you're doing it in Houston. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Now I got to chase up that leaderboard and get to John McClain. I've probably got a lot of years to catch up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, he does have time on his side, that's for sure. Brooks, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Brooks.
Brooks Cubina there from the Houston Chronicle.
Some young talent on this team. It's just, kind of interesting
High
tonight.
praise for Anderson.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting to see out there tonight how Will Anderson does against the Patriots tackles, which has been a little iffy.
It was my thought when he was talking a lot about how well he's been rushing the passer. I think that the Patriots' health concerns up front, we've talked about him every day of camp. You're not going to see Cole Strange tonight. You're not going to see Trent Brown tonight. Obviously, you're not going to see Micah Winu. He's on PUP still. I'd be surprised if you saw any David Andrews. So you're basically talking about 4 backups. And what I think will be Connor McDermott, based on what we saw at practice, Mike, on Tuesday. McDermott was the left tackle, and you're going to have the rookies. I think Jake Andrews will be out there. I think maybe you'll see James Ferentz as one veteran. I think you'll see Cody Russi. I think you'll see Antonio Mafi. I think you'll see City Sue. I don't know, how comfortable, people are like, well, how can you not play Mac Jones? And how, he hasn't earned the right. Well, I think there might be a little bit of sort of weighing your options here going on too.
Yeah.
As to who's going to be up front protecting.
It makes me think about practice when they switched the offensive lines, and I think they gave Zappe the starters, and then they gave Mac the backups. It was pretty interesting, and they did that with the wide receivers too.
Yeah, I think there are, it kind of what Brooks was talking about here. And with C.J. Stroud, that's a legitimate, story. Some of the other things you're looking at, and this is true for a lot of preseasons, but especially for teams who are kind of finding their way and looking to, get back into, more wins than anything and back into the playoffs. You kind of, you do get a little creative when you're looking at some of these storylines and things to really focus in on, because there isn't the obvious, can they make it back to another conference championship? We're so used to that around here, even in New York. But how is Aaron Rodgers going to fit with his new team? It's a little more nuanced. And when you're talking about, like Tamara brings up, trying to, figure out what's going to work on the offensive line. Maybe they know. Maybe they just know whatever Trent Brown is dealing with is going to be fine for week 1. That's what he said last week anyway. Wouldn't affect him week 1, but I'm sure they're still trying to figure out a few things, and part of that is going to manifest itself in some odd personnel switches during camp and in preseason games while they're figuring stuff out.
Yeah, well, Paul mentioned, Connor McDermott, and, between him and Riley Reif, who have basically, because Trent has been out, those have been your 2 top tackles. It's, those are veteran guys. Riley Reif is pretty old. You wonder, do you protect him?
Why don't you say it to us?
But do you protect him? Usually, your backup these are the guys that would play. But at this point, it's they're kind of important. If Riley Reif or Connor McDermott were to go down right now, that's a significant blow.
Yeah, and I think Riley Reif's age, I don't think you'll see him.
Yeah.
I think he'll get it off. I think Ferentz and McDermott, again, based on Tuesday, are 2 of the guys you might see tonight. Because you have to have, they don't have that many offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Just healthy and available.
Sure.
It's one of those things, you've seen Bill do this in the preseason in the past, where, I can give you a lot of examples. Jason McCourty, like spending the fourth quarter of a preseason game at safety, and everybody's like, "Oh, was he going to get cut?" He thought he was going to get cut. Don Davis, long time special team stalwart. He was a linebacker by trade. He's out there playing safety, just because they don't have the bodies. And I wonder, offensive line tonight, you have the 3 rookies that they just drafted: Andrews, Mafi, and Sue, and then the guys from last year, Chase and Hines. Andrew Stuber, I would imagine you'd see those guys tonight. But are you going to ask them to go wire to wire? And if not, who sort of fills in? There's not that many bodies.
Right. And see, and even still, you're kind of throwing those guys to the fire a little bit, especially playing it with each other. If you've got rookies playing with rookies, that's kind of who do you look to? So hopefully that they can handle the pressure that Will Anderson, Jonathan Greener, another edge that I like. Those guys are coming. It's you don't want to keep Bailey Zappi in there too long.
Bill Murray's another guy, right, that has been banged up a little bit. So Bill Murray was a defensive lineman. They made him an offensive lineman. Now, he's hurt. Maybe you might see another one. A guy, a backup defensive lineman.
Like Farms. They had Farms practice in there a little bit. But it's numbers, right? That's just like, we don't, it's not, hey, we're not trying to be crazy and creative. It's just, we need guys to play.
I was almost a little bit shocked with one of those, 2 open spots that were previously there that they didn't find another one.
I know, and that they will. I guess the linebacker kind of correlates to Terez Hall, and I think, and I didn't see it. I saw Reese wrote that Ronnie Perkins was carted off apparently in that last practice. I didn't see that. That's what Reese said. Did you see that? You don't look like you saw Ronnie Perkins.
Did not see anybody get carted off in that practice. I did not see anybody write about it.
No, well, Reese, I think in his notes was one of the ones. So I don't know. That's another position that's thin. So running back, linebacker, edge. You bring Trey Flowers in. So. It's still, I agree with you, Tamara. It's surprising that they've been this long.
You bring up running backs, too, and that's another area. None of us put it in our keys tonight, but Kevin Harris, Pierre Strong, I think, and they're kind of connected at the hip. I had a chance to talk to Kevin Harris a little bit yesterday. They're pretty close, Harris and Strong. They came in as draft picks together. I'd expect to see a little bit of both of those guys tonight, too. Again, I'm hoping early, so maybe they get an opportunity to run against some of the players that will play for Houston. Some of the defensive, maybe they get Will Anderson out there, and those kinds of players.
And I love how Brooks mentioned that they struggled with the run game last year. So I'm wondering if this could be a game where we'll get to see a lot of them because they're still working on getting their run games together.
I think this is the time for it. Like 2 guys, second year, you've got some depth questions. You've had Ezekiel Elliott in. Are you going to bring in a veteran? If one of those guys plays really well tonight, Harris has been getting a lot of work based on they were kind of easing Stevenson in. So. Big night for those two, Strong and Harris.
I would think so anyway, and I'm sorry, I just don't believe in the notion that, you can put Malik Cunningham out there or McSorley, and you can run some pass plays, and you can divine so much about how the offense is functioning and the receivers. I'm like, come on, really? Can you? I know you. Okay, what motion? How they're getting out of the huddle. Okay, a couple of things, but. If the guy throwing the ball is a guy who's not even throwing them the ball in training camp so far, although McSorley did get a lot of reps.
Yeah.
McSorley does. But for the most part, what are you really going to be able to learn about your team that you haven't learned already in camp? So another reason, for a lot of the running backs to get some work tonight and see what you've got there depth-wise.
That's why I think players like J.J. Taylor are fun. You really don't get to see the run game, and I think it comes with the caveat that they haven't really tackled yet either. So even
I don't know.
A beware.
I don't know if he swallowed a thesaurus over there or what, but
that was.
You think this is the first time you're going to get to see a running back run and get and break tackles and but again. Nobody's tackling, so the tackling is probably going to be sloppy anyway. So to your point, how are you really if Kevin Harris is dragging guys they haven't really tackled yet, so it'll be a little bit of that.
And
too.
To your point too, Hardy, who agrees with you is the coaches and the coaches across the league. Otherwise, these games would be treated more seriously in terms of the personnel used. I heard a stat today. I don't know if it's accurate. I saw it on Twitter. Teams average fewer than 15% snaps for their starters in preseason. In the entirety of the preseason, they play starters play less than 15% of the snaps. So that's across the board. That's not one team decides I don't believe in playing my start. That's all 32.
Mm-hmm. Would you give up a preseason game right now if it meant no? If it meant another regular season game? That's because I believe that to be the trade out.
That's what's going to happen.
And it will happen. But would you do it? Would you do it at all? if I had my druthers, and I shan't be saying that again. But I'm trying to balance out him saying caveat.
Or
if I had my druthers, I would get rid of a preseason game and keep it at 17 regular season, but that won't happen. So if that is the exchange, would you do that, Tamara?
I would get rid of one and just keep the joint practices. Like, I think the joint practices.
But you have to add a regular season game.
No.
You got to go to 18.
Mm-mm.
See, I don't want to do that.
I want to go to
No.
18 just because I hate 17 as
17
a
is
number.
weird.
It's not a round number, and it's you can't be 500. I don't like
It is a
17.
round
I want
number.
to drop
It's not an
Sorry,
even
number. Sorry.
I want to drop so much for.
It's not a prime number.
So much for the caveat.
No, it is a prime
How
number.
about we drop a preseason and a regular season, and then it's 16?
That's my thing. Let's go back to
Yeah.
16 and drop a preseason.
I'd be for that. I'd
Yeah.
be for that.
I mean, if you're talking about the health of the players and the health of the league, I think that is the healthiest thing. Now, you'll never convince the owners
No.
and the networks and the
no.
advertisers, no, more the better. We want to own the
I
entire
agree with
year.
you.
I just, at some point, and they will push it. They're not
Within
these
5
guys,
years, it
these
will
guys
be
aren't
18
dumb.
and 2.
They know what they're doing. I trust them and their business acumen to push the limit and get to the point where they see the point of diminishing return and not going beyond that. But I gotta believe it's close.
You make good points. It's not just like you keep saying, like the health of the players and the health of the league.
The health of
and
the
the diminishing returns comment. I couldn't agree with you more. It's not just about the health of the players. I think we get over dramatic with that. Obviously these guys get hurt all the time. I mean, it's a war of attrition. But what it does with adding these games, it just makes it even more so. It's not about who's best. It's about who can somehow navigate it through and be healthy enough by the end to be the best.
Right.
And when you're adding these games, it's just making it more of a crapshoot as to who that is.
You'd think they'd learn their lesson a little bit with the Thursday night football. I mean, holy cow! It is a struggle to get people to remember that there is Thursday night football. Number one, much less get them interested in games on Thursday, Sunday night,
Saturday
Monday night,
late in the year.
Saturday
We're gonna
late
have
in
a
the
Black
year.
Friday game
And
this
then you
year.
add in the
Yes.
fact that, isn't the flexing going to be allowed?
Yeah. That's not going away.
No, I mean
That's-
coming off the Thursday. Can't they flex you out of a Thursday?
There was something about that. I can't remember what the exact rule is now, but
I believe late in the year they have that option. They're going to have that option. as
talk
well.
about wonky weeks for these guys and the coaches, especially coaches like Bill, who are creatures of habit and like to have their schedule down. Throwing those Thursday games at them in super short weeks, and oh god!
What was the height of preseason? How many games do they have at the absolute height?
6, I think.
6. Imagine that.
No.
Six
Who thought that
preseason
was
games.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Let's get to the phones here. I can't remember the phone number. I think it's 855-PATS-500.
That's right.
Good.
If that
All
feels good. All right.
That's good.
Let's run with that. Patty in Agawam has been holding since before we even started today. So, Patty, thank you for your patience. What's going on, buddy?
Going on? Hey, no problem, man. I was working, and I got off of work and figured I would call in. So, Artie, I got something for you before I get to my point. My bold prediction this year for the Super Bowl is the Lions versus the Ravens.
That is bold on both counts,
really
my man.
bold.
I really like your sleeper pick in the AFC.
Ravens?
I think there's a
Yeah, I
chance.
think
I
they're
think
gonna
there's a
be
chance
good.
that could be
What's
electric.
wrong with his NFC pick?
I think that's a pretty trendy.
Suspect.
I think it's I'm not making fun of the pick in the NFC at all. I think that's a very trendy NFC pick. Your Lions.
I like him. I like them both.
Yeah.
Patty.
No, I don't you think? Am I wrong? Do you not?
I think
Are you trying to downplay expectations? Because I get that. You're trying
No,
to
but
downplay
it's-
expectations
calling
for
it
your
tre-
boys.
Calling it trendy doesn't mean you agree with it. I would like to hear. I would
I
like
don't
to hear
think
you
they're-
agree with it.
I don't think they're the best team in the NFC, but I think they're a solid playoff team on paper.
Yeah,
in
well,
the NFC, and they'll have a chance. I think the NFC is weak. I
Patty-
think the AFC is a minefield.
This is what happens for Lions fans. They have to point to things like, they're the one team that the rest of the NFC was happy didn't make the playoffs. Like, you still didn't make the playoffs. Like, what are you celebrating exactly? Oh, the fact that other teams were happy they didn't have to face them in a wild card round. I'm like, okay, really lowering the bar. But I love the
Who
pick.
is he
Patty.
arguing with?
I mean,
But just getting to tonight's game, Paul, I think you brought it up on Tuesday. I'm really interested to see how long they play Zappy tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Zappy in the first, McSorley in the second, and then they give Malik Cunningham the second half, just because I think the latter two can actually move around and create. Because I mean, there's no hiding. You know, look at what they're going to be putting out there tonight on the offensive line. And as much as you guys know, I'm a Mac guy, but like I do value Zappy as the backup, and I can see them, like, you know, maybe handing the ball off a lot in the fourth quarter and not putting them in harm's way. And I just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought about that. And let's go, baby! I'm freaking ready.
Thanks, Patty.
Is he saying Zappy handing the ball off?
I think so.
Oh, then don't play him. Like, he's going to play, like, because if you want him to play and get some snaps, then you got to play him and give him some snaps. I mean, you can't just go out there and hand the ball off.
I'd give him a bunch tonight. I'd like to see him play a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I'd like to see, and I think that the coaches think that he is established as the backup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see him play a half of football for that. I can see him go out and sort of, like I said, 10 or 12 snaps, get him out, let McSorley play a bunch, and let Cunningham finish up. I personally, you know, from a broadcast standpoint, I'd like to see Cunningham get some snaps at quarterback because I think that would make the fourth quarter a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
You know, to me, it's more the story. It's he's a wide receiver who spent the entire offseason as a wide receiver, and they're going to see if he can do what he did in college and run around and play quarterback a little bit and see if there's anything there. I think that would be fun to watch. I think it's a kind of an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah.
But I don't really see. I don't need to see anything in a game from any of these guys that are already sort of on the team.
Yeah.
And I think Zappy's on the team.
I think probably where I'm coming from is just bad few days of practice for Zappy, and I kind of have that taste in my mouth of just like he looks like he's kind of losing some confidence, doesn't quite look. You know, I'd like to see him break that and maybe have some positive plays. And I mean, I hear your point. I don't need to see him for a full half, but I'd like to see him more than just like the first, you know, series. And
what
then,
I really
okay,
want to see is what you and Evan are going to get to watch. And I hope that when we talk to you guys next week, that you guys are saying, you know, Mac is, you know, operating the show and he's doing, and then Bailey comes in and it's pretty much the same thing. I like to see Zappy getting the amount of reps that he's gotten that we've seen, and then the offenses both, you know, show some positive signs. That to me would mean more than if he catches some Sonny's Car Wash All-Star tonight sleeping.
Do you think that they'll change the rep count that we've seen once they do get to Green Bay and Tennessee in terms of like the 5-5-5, 4-4-4, whatever, if they'll change it to like give Mac 8 and Zappy whatever?
Yeah, it'll go by series.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I think it'll be the same.
I think it'll be more Mac because I think they kind of do, like to Paul's point, 15%. Like they're gonna mostly, I think, focus on the joint practices with him. Right. I'm a little bit worried about that defensive line, this offensive line. Like if Mac's gonna play a lot in joint practices, like they better protect him.
Yeah, but they're not gonna hit him.
No, but I don't know, man. Some of these guys, it's just
the joints.
I'm not saying I'm not.
They're not going to sack the quarterback in a joint practice.
Yeah, but
I know.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying they're going to blow the offense up. Like nothing's
going
to get accomplished.
They could. That could happen.
That's what I mean.
I'm sorry, just real quickly. But we've talked about this in years past. I would love to see it, and I only remember seeing it once in a preseason game, pulling the starter like on 3rd and 7. And making the switch there.
Just so he doesn't have to drop back and take a hit.
To simulate what it would be like in a game. Or like 2nd and 7
somebody
or something.
Got hurt.
Like someone gets hurt. It's like, this is when you're going to be going into a game, Bailey.
Yeah.
So let's simulate that even in a preseason game. You don't get a fresh, set of downs on your own 25. It doesn't work like that. It rarely works like that unless you've got a quarterback who's just sucking eggs in the first half. So, stuff like that is fun when it happens, even if it's just for a play, just to see how they do.
Yeah, little shenanigans.
Yeah, and I think in the joints what you usually see is, a set of 8 or 10 plays for for Mac. And then they might go, for Green Bay's offense. And then they might go back to the Patriots offense and it could be Zappy. Now, to Mike's point, maybe we'll see 2 sets of Mac to every one for Zappy. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might go a little bit heavier for Mac. Now, I would expect to see Mac play in those last 2 preseason games at least a little. I don't know how much. I think he played into the second quarter against the Raiders. Last year. That was, correct me if I'm wrong, the 3rd game?
Yes.
Now, I think he played a little longer in that game because they played so poorly.
Yes. Yeah, did not look great.
And they didn't get as many snaps. Longer in terms of the length of the game.
Yeah, because they're going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You've only got 9 plays. But you played 3 series, 9 plays. Yeah, I got you.
Right, it gets you into the second quarter, but you really haven't played that many plays.
Yeah.
Let's go to Brett in Reno. Hi, Brett. You're on Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Dunkin with Hardy and Deuce and Tamara and Paul. It's good to talk to you. What do you got? Oh, Brent. Sorry. Brent. You didn't have to yell at me, Matt.
It's Brent.
Sorry, guys. Hey, I was calling to ask about the running back situation, but you guys answered it right there pretty quick. So I guess I'll just caveat a little bit from pregame to preseason and ask how you guys feel about the current running back sweepstakes, between Lenny Fournette, Dalvin Cook, and Zeke, and which one of those guys you'd like to get.
All right. Well, it is looking less likely that it would be Dalvin Cook, and Ezekiel Elliott is the one that still seems to be an option. I mean, you look at maybe a quarterback or a running back that was here last year that you probably still could have had on the roster, and you think, why are you in a position now where if it's not going to be Dalvin Cook, and I would love to have Dalvin Cook here.
Yeah.
Why even put yourself in the position where you have to think about Ezekiel Elliott? Now, Ezekiel Elliott, fine player, not necessarily, in his prime right now, and I'm not saying he's bad, but why are you in this position to begin with?
Yeah, well,
that's what I have to start with when we do this whole Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott conversation.
No, it's reasonable, and I think basically they swapped Damian Harris for James Robinson, and James Robinson couldn't make it out of OTAs due to health. So you're totally right. I mean, we've been kind of waiting to see. It's just the wild card is Harris and Strong, and if those guys are able to emerge as legit, I think unfortunately with Damian Harris it was just availability issue, and at a certain point you're like, we can't really count on this guy, and generally you're going to keep the running back position kind of rolling over anyway. And so what did he do to make you think like, wow, all right, next contract he's going to be reliable and available and all those things. But I would trace it back to the decision to just bring in James Robinson. Maybe if you made another move maybe at that point with a player that could have stuck around and been healthy and stayed healthy, then you probably wouldn't be in this position. But if Harris and Strong are good, you never know. It might work out okay.
I like the idea of giving Kevin Harris a chance. Now, I think the Damian Harris situation is a very fair second guess because he signed for nothing. Like he signed like a $1.1 million deal in Buffalo, so it's not money. You decided you wanted to move on, which is fine, except for you didn't have anybody to replace him, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to just move on for the sake of moving on.
Yeah, to me that one kind of stings a little bit. I'm not saying it would solve all your issues right now,
but you'd have a backup running back that you felt more.
We wouldn't have to have this conversation. I mean, how excited are you at the prospect of Ezekiel Elliott joining the team?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question, it's like Montgomery Brewster. None of the above. Right. Like I don't really love any of those three. If I had to choose from those three, I mean, Dalvin Cook is far and away the best player of the three, but he's the most unrealistic. I would take Fournette first and then Elliott. People forget they also, the same time they had Fournette in, I believe, they had Darrell Henderson in from the Rams, the former Rams guy. I'd take him too. Like, I don't love the idea of Elliott other than the fact that I think he's a rock-solid blitz protection guy. His reputation as a blocker is really good. So that's important. So I guess if that's the reason why they end up going that way, I would take it just to take something off of Stevenson's plate.
Yeah,
like we don't need him to be out there all 3 downs all the time. Ty Montgomery could factor into this too.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say I wish Ty Montgomery was healthy because then it'd be like.
That's what we've been saying for 2 years.
I know.
I guess it's wild.
He brought it up, so blame him. But you know what I always wondered about Brewster's Millions? Which
do you know this movie?
Tamara has not seen it.
I have not, but I just love the way Paul
she's given the. Well, she's given the laugh, so I'm wondering if she actually knew.
I'm guessing Deuce is
a Richard Pryor movie.
Oh, yeah. It's a Richard Pryor movie. John Candy. It's fun.
It's stupid but fun.
We'll give her the premise.
The premise is he's a minor league baseball player, broke. He inherits $30 million, and with the caveat
thank you
that he has to spend all of it in 30 days and have no assets to show for it. And if he does that, he gets $300 million. This movie came out in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. It would have been like $300 billion.
Yeah, it's like obscene money either way. But here's the deal. $30 million, we're going to watch you closely. And if you have so much as a new hat that you bought and still own it at the end of 30 days, then you win nothing. Okay? Here was my question about it. Why not, if you're Montgomery Brewster, say, okay, I'll do it. Take the $30 million, not spend a dime and say, yeah, I didn't do it. And you've still got $30 million at the end of it.
Oh, that just ruined the whole movie for me.
It kind of ruins the whole movie,
Okay,
doesn't
so
it?
I'm forgetting it. It's been at least 40 years since I've seen it.
Right.
Was he not subjected to losing it if he did that?
I don't think so. Like
Mike?
like what?
Well, I mean, what are you here for?
Because
if you
at
can't remember
the end of it, when they tried to trick him and he still had $20,000 left on a furniture deposit, like he still had $20,000. I'm like, why not just keep all of it then? Say what? Yeah, I wasn't able to do it. I think still got the $30 million. Bye.
I think the problem is when I watched the movie as a kid, I didn't know what assets meant, so there was always a gray area for me as a kid watching the movie.
There was a
where
little
I'm like,
business
what
element that
I didn't quite grasp all of that.
I still like
stocks
the movie.
and bonds and what have you.
I still
things
like
of this nature.
If it were on tonight, I'd watch it.
We showed it to the kids.
Oh, they like it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a fun. It's a fun time.
We went with the toy. We
tried to get my
kid.
kid.
The toy's
really
funny.
toy.
The toy's not a good movie.
The toy's kind of sad.
It's not a good movie.
Don't you think it's sad?
No.
Well, it definitely doesn't hold up in today's society. That's for sure.
I mean, Jackie Gleason as U.S. Bates, does a fine job, but that kid is a problem.
Kid was a problem.
It's the kid from Christmas Story. Is
yeah,
that the same
Flick.
kid? Flick. Yeah.
Also went on to do adult films.
Oh,
really?
Oh yeah.
They
just they screwed a couple of
so,
letters
like,
around.
the running back thing. We'll get it back on the rails here for a second.
Well, I was going to go to Spee and Fresno.
Well, I'm curious. You asked me about the three guys. Like,
I asked you about Brewster's Millions.
No, I know, but before that, you asked me about the running back situation. I just kind of want to go with Kevin Harris. Do you guys think? I mean, would you feel happier or more comfortable if Zeke came in? And
Not really. I think I'd be.
It doesn't change much for me.
I just don't feel like he has the juice anymore.
I wouldn't hate it.
How do you use him?
Goal line.
Is your third down guy?
Not as a third down guy.
Red zone.
As a backup. Like this series, we're gonna give Ramondre a blow. It's gonna be instead of 20 carries and maybe 5 catches like it turned into late last year for Stevenson, it's going to be closer to 15 carries and maybe 1 or 2 catches.
Yeah.
We're going to take some of those touches. We're going to give them to Zeke.
I'm gonna stick with my mantra, which is they need to hit on draft picks, and I think that if you bring in Zeke and you start eating into Harris and Strong's, are those 2 other draft picks that you kind of maybe missed on and that you don't feel good about? Like, any outcome where draft picks work out and are under rookie contracts and will remain here for a few years and able to develop. That's what I want. That's how this team gets back into being competitive and back and be in the playoffs.
All right. Now we can go to Spee and Fresno and continue here with the Patriots pregame show, fueled by Dunkin. Spee, what's going on, buddy?
The solution to the Brewster's million conundrum is just on day one, you donate all $30 million. And that's out of your hands. There's no temptation to spend it. But, yeah, and then all of a sudden you're $300.
There was a restriction on how much he could give to charity.
10% to charity, that was it.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm like Mike. I was too young to really understand the rules.
Right?
Yeah, I do remember there was a restriction on how much he could give away.
And how much you could gamble, which actually backfired because he bet Loyola lacrosse, women's lacrosse, and he ended up winning a ton.
And they won. I remember the guy brought in the bag of money.
Yeah. Oh, he was pissed.
like you could bet on that in like 1984.
I got a line on it.
Joey the Nose was taking the action.
DraftKings.
Hardy, it's great to have you back. You're an institution. Those other the guys who came before you, they couldn't swing it. They couldn't come back year after year. So you coming back, it's great. Like it sounds like the start of the season to me. So
I appreciate that, Speed, because the other narrative is that they got better jobs and they weren't available to do this show anymore. I couldn't imagine a better job, so I'm happy to be back. And yes, the longevity must count for something somewhere.
Yeah, you and your crusty impression too. We're thrilled for that.
Oh yeah, I'm saving that for the regular season.
All right. Hey, I wanted to ask about Thornton because I'm looking at we're staring at the first preseason game. Meaningless football, and I'm trying to find something in there to maybe look for that could be meaningful. Because with Thornton, he's a guy, he brings, I'm stealing Paul's point, that he kind of brings something different to the table than the receiving group. Like with Pop Douglas, he's more horizontal, maybe Thornton's more vertical. And, I have concerns. Thornton may be dealing with a soft tissue injury. He's got that slider frame. You're concerned if he's slowed up so much that he gets into contested catch situations. And my question for tonight is, going up against Sonny's, like Paul says, your Sonny's car wash all-stars, do you think that we're going to get a good enough look at him, at least at some point, maybe a handful of times, to gauge his readiness to really beat guys down the field?
Yeah, I think early, you might have like Stingley and those guys out there. I think Brooks Cubina talked about Will Anderson, and they're one of their first-round picks. I think you might get the starters, quote-unquote, out there for at least the first series.
Yeah.
Before you start to see all the substitutions.
Okay.
I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts on Thornton. I mean,
a lot of thoughts.
I would just say even if there's some backups, like I'd just like to see him. What does he do well? Like I want to see him like actually perform. And even if it's against backups, like I haven't even seen him really, do a lot against backups. I think people are getting off the Thornton train just because he did have the soft tissue injury. He was practicing on the lower field, running laps, and then he came back and he's been with the twos. And and everybody seems like they're jumping off the Thornton bandwagon. They want to put Booty in for Thornton, and I actually think he's been okay for the last couple practices, albeit mostly with the twos. But he's had a few nice catches. I talked about the show on Thursday. I thought in one-on-one open field tackling drills, he actually looked pretty quick. Like as Speed just said, he's known kind of on paper for long speed. I haven't really seen that long speed.
Everyone's in love with Douglas,
so much.
And most of Douglas's catches have come from Zappy too.
Yeah.
Now he's caught some from Mac. I'm not saying that he hasn't been with Mac.
Yeah.
He has.
Yeah.
But I feel like the whole thing, we overanalyze every element of practice, and we all do it. We do it as well. I do a whole blog every day on every practice. So I'm as guilty as everybody else when it comes to overanalyzing practice. I just think you got to kind of cool it on the stats, the trends, the groups, the personnel and stuff like that. You got to wait to see when it unfolds, what it looks like in September.
All right. We have some more, defining or more specific personnel topics to get into.
Oh, nice.
We have a lot of time.
Can I just tell you real quick?
Don't worry, we won't
We've
be stepping aside for a lot of breaks. Don't worry about that.
That's true. Real quick, I want to tell you though that hello Claire chimes in from Twitter, and she says that Brewster's Millions was actually on TV recently, and it was in the contract that if he didn't spend all of it, he got zero monies.
No monies for you.
No monies. So Claire, I think, is right.
So
I think he didn't have the option of just saying, well, I'm just going to stick with the $30 million. He had to declare beforehand, do you want the $30 million? And if you do, that's what you get. Or do you risk it and say, I'm going to spend the $30 million so I get the $300 million, and if I fail, I get nothing.
I just think
Uncle Rupert.
There had to have been
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Who was the Hackensack Bulls? Was the team
Hackensack Bulls?
Jerry Orbach was the manager.
You can't land a plane without what is it?
Right.
So you can't have a baseball game without a runway.
Without a marching band. That's right. You're not a farmer anymore. You don't have to swing at stuff in the dirt. I just think you could have taken the $30 million, put it in a Swiss bank account, and it's like, how are they going to get it back? It was yours. It was in your name. Let's go to Floyd in Michigan here. Floyd, what's going on from the Great Lakes State? Floyd? Wow. Sharpening.
It's not right. That's
sharpening
not like that's Mr. Floyd, right?
Floyd will come back.
That's Mr. Floyd, right?
Yeah, Mr. Floyd.
I had one of the best. Speaking of regular callers, I had one of the best answers from Eldred in North Carolina to one of my Twitter questions recently.
Really?
Which I put out there for the rock and roll radio program.
I answer some of your questions from time to time, but a lot of times you're way over my head with those.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with.
But the question
answers.
was, what artist looks the least like their music sounds? Right? What singer or
Rick Astley.
What artist or band? And Rick Astley got a lot of answers.
Milli Vanilli.
Do you know what Eldred answered? Mike Tirico, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah.
Was it fake Eldred or real Eldred, though?
I mean, how many people are
there is a fake Eldred account.
Is there a fake Eldred in North Carolina?
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
no.
But
yes.
if you ask
so
him,
I'm not the only one, because I did not see this one. I do follow a lot of your questions, and I didn't remember seeing this one. A lot of people said Rick Astley.
A lot of people said Rick Astley.
That was like Rick Astley was a big thing like when I was in high school. Like and everybody was like, you see the video and like that voice doesn't come out of that guy,
right?
You know.
I said the one that
Janis Joplin.
No,
she kind of looks.
I think Adele has one of those voices.
Well, I thought Blues Traveler was a good answer. The first time I heard Blues Traveler, I'm like,
I don't remember.
That's what that guy looks like.
I don't remember. I'd have to see him. I don't
He's
know.
He's a big guy with a lot of harmonicas.
Yeah, he wears them like
he's got like a Chewbacca bandolier
the
of
overalls.
harmonicas.
Well, I think it's an ammo belt he wears around his neck, isn't it, Marine Matt?
Whoa, that took a turn.
Yeah.
No, he wears an ammo belt that he keeps because the harmonicas
whatever
are
key
pitched
you want to be in.
Different keys.
Boom.
Thanks.
It's like, oh, we're in D. I got you.
He's got a caveat for that.
Deuce knows so much
about
he really
everything.
Does. He does. He's a musician. He's a Renaissance
man.
Renaissance man.
I blow a little bit.
Right.
No need to blow.
You go a little honking on the bobo. Yeah. Ryan in Alabama. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a quick thing on the running back situation real quick. From the Alabama area, I've been going to the USFL games the past 2 seasons, and I saw that C.J. Marable had a workout last week. And if we don't end up getting the Ezekiel Elliott situation, then C.J. Marable would be a great addition, especially on the younger side, too.
What tell us about him? I'm not familiar.
I didn't even know he was in for a workout. Did you know this, Paul?
I did not.
No. Okay. Yeah. What do you got
I
on
saw
him?
multiple sources on Twitter last week, and
Oh, I didn't say that he didn't come in for a workout. I just said I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. Tell us something about him.
25 years old. Man, he's a workhorse, and back-to-back USFL championship. I mean,
okay,
pedigree.
Yeah,
led the running offense. So, like I said, a younger guy on that side. If we can't get a vet like Ezekiel Elliott or something like that, it'd be a great addition.
Let me tell you something, Ryan. I don't hate the idea because what is Ezekiel Elliott going to be in there for? To spell Ramondre every once in a while? Is he a goal line guy? Man, not really. Is he a third down guy? What, consistently? Probably not. I don't know.
Okay,
it just didn't do much for him.
I remember him now. I just Googled him, and he's the kid from Coastal Carolina, right? And he played, I believe, the reason why I remember is because the Everett kid was on Coastal Carolina at the time, Isaiah Likely. So I watched them a little bit. He is one of those typical college running backs that, the team played out of the spread, and he was the one back.
Yeah.
He could catch the ball. He was kind of a scat back. He did a lot of different things. Versatile. I don't know what he's like blocking and things like that, the nuances, but he was a pretty productive guy.
Okay. By the way, Ted Johnson got back to me.
Yeah. Nice.
The guards from the Raiders that were making fun of him in the preseason game, Steve Wisniewski.
Oh, okay.
And Kevin Gogan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
2 longtime NFLers.
Wisniewski, is he in the Hall of Fame, I think?
But he said the funniest thing he said, they were both doing the double hitch. Before every snap, before they get down, Matt Foley, motivational speaker.
That just blows me away because what I remember of Ted Johnson, even as a rookie, was just a monster of a middle linebacker, and that I can't fathom the size and toughness of a guard on the Raiders that could laugh at Ted Johnson.
He couldn't fathom how fast they were, and he was describing certain plays that they would run in college, and he's like, "Yeah, there were guys in college who were good, but once they got out on the edge, I could get around them and still make a play on the quarterback." He said these guys would not only be out in front of, if they were doing an RPO or they were doing some kind of an option, he said these guards would be out in front of the quarterback and have their shoulders turned upfield before I could even think about getting around them. He's like, there's no getting around those guys, not at the speed I was used to playing. He said the guys at Nebraska were big and strong, but they weren't fast. He said all these guys it was like we've heard so many times, what's the biggest difference going from college to the pros or any league? What's the biggest difference in that next level? Speed. Hockey, basketball, football. Speed.
Yeah.
It's the speed of the game. It's
that's
so
why
much faster.
For guys like that, where in the NFL, where it's like one wrong step, and they got the angle on you, you're done.
Done. You leaving, Paul?
I am.
Okay. Are we breaking, Matt? Sure.
Hi.
All right. Let's do that. And we will thank our fine sponsors at Bridgestone, official tire of the New England Patriots. Proud to partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
Touchview Interactive from the Oakers Company offers New England's leading schools and businesses technologically advanced and easy-to-use interactive displays, providing enhanced collaboration and improved student outcomes in the classroom, and an easy way to foster communication and teamwork in any business environment. Available in multiple sizes, Touchview also offers a built-in VC, allowing for easy use through video conference systems. For more information, visit okers.com.
This is the Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris ahead of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke.
$1 million? For picking players? That's a lot of money, DraftKings. You know how many jokes I got to tell to make $1 million? Probably like a half of one.
Take a free shot at $1 million with DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports.
We exist to keep your body and mind moving.
It's never too late to rise.
Because everybody is a Therabody.
Touchview Interactive from the Oakers Company offers New England's leading schools and businesses technologically advanced and easy-to-use interactive displays, providing enhanced collaboration and improved student outcomes in the classroom, and an easy way to foster communication and teamwork in any business environment. Available in multiple sizes, Touchview also offers a built-in VC, allowing for easy use through video conference systems. For more information, visit okers.com.
This is the Gillette Labs with exfoliating bar. The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris ahead of the blades for effortless shaving in one efficient stroke.
$1 million? For picking players? That's a lot of money, DraftKings. You know how many jokes I got to tell to make $1 million? Probably like a half of one.
Take a free shot at $1 million with DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports.
We exist to keep your body and mind moving.
It's never too late to rise.
Because everybody is a Therabody.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
I didn't have Paul having his punching bag being Iggy Azalea on my bingo card tonight.
That's a good point.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
That wasn't from this show. No, that's unfiltered.
More like a best of these rejoiners from last season.
Love it. Great. Whatever.
Iggy Azalea. What is he doing at Iggy Azalea?
I don't know. So Paul is doing his chin wag with the flagship right now over there on the Sports Hub, but he will also be on the TV set tonight.
Yeah, Bob's Discount Furniture.
Yeah,
studio.
So for local listeners of the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Dunkin, look for Paul Perillo on your TV set tonight. He'll be adding his insight to the game. He does a great job with it too. He really is good.
That's pretty good. Or watch the McCourty cast, the twin cast that'll be going on TV 38 if you're local, and the McCourtys.
You got a lot of options for this game tonight. And by the way, Patriots Pregame brought to you by the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. Great memories are made in Massachusetts, no matter how you choose to make them. Indoors, outdoors, scenic views, city vibes, solo or family style, whatever moves you, whatever the reason, whatever the season, plan your perfect Massachusetts getaway at visitma.com.
I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lots of fun things to do here in our wonderful state.
What are we gonna talk about while Paul's out of the room, because he hates it when he misses out on a good conversation?
Well, I was hoping we were going to talk about Brewster's Millions, but we already blew through all that. So, seen any good movies lately? Read any good books?
All right, so here's what I was planning on doing this weekend. As my wife and kids were supposed to be away earlier today, flight ended up getting delayed to the point where they just came home.
Gave up.
It didn't even get canceled. It was delayed so many hours. It was almost, they were on like 11 and a half hours of delay. They said, what's the point? We're gonna get to our destination in the middle of the night. Just rebook us tomorrow. So they came home. But it is still my hope to go see Oppenheimer over the weekend.
Yeah.
No one else is interested in seeing it in my house. So have you seen it?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't. No.
You want to go to the movies? Share a big popcorn?
Probably not.
Okay. All right. Anyone seen the Barbie movie?
No.
Do you not go?
Wait, I know. Here comes Pink, walking right back in.
Here we go. All right. Tamara's going to join in on the conversation. Have you seen the Barbie movie, Tamara? Okay. Well, you're going to turn the mic on.
Of course I have.
All right. How was it?
So I think you have to go in with low expectations.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
I'm the king of low expectations.
Like, I think you can't go in there expecting this to win a Grammy or whatever it is for movies.
Oscar, generally.
Yes.
Golden Globe.
You guys, Deuce would know.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely very cheesy, but it's good. I like it.
All right.
That's what I think. The general cheesy but good.
It's cheesy. It's cheesy but good. But don't go in there thinking like it's about to be the best movie you've ever seen.
And I'll watch it when it comes on the TV set. I'm not going to go to the theater for it. I do want to see Oppenheimer, but I was telling Deuce nobody else in my house wants to see it. So, do you go to the movies alone? Have you ever gone to the movies alone?
Oh yeah, a lot.
I have not.
A lot when I was in LA. A lot.
Also, I will say Fred went to see Barbie before all of us in the office went to see Barbie.
Alone?
I don't know. But Fred saw Barbie opening weekend before we even saw Barbie.
Yeah, and he
Party, I go see every movie alone.
He said the same thing. Yeah, I'm at those.
You do.
I go to the last showing at night by myself.
I love it. I mean, I've only done it a handful of times, but you can really watch the movie. The last time I saw it, my son and his friend were in another theater, and I went and watched the Cocaine Bear. Because I wanted to see the Cocaine Bear.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And that was the last one I saw alone. But I've seen a handful of movies. But it's a great way to watch a movie.
I mean, you don't really talk to the person. I don't see why it has like such a stigma attached to like you went to the movie alone. Like, well, I'm just gonna sit in the dark and watch a movie for 2 hours. But
can I tell you one of my other favorite things to do? Have a meal in a restaurant alone with a book. Oh, heaven! Take a book into like a sit down. People say that's like sociopath behavior. It's like, if you order at the counter, you're fine. I'm like, nope. With actual service at the table by myself, love it.
Book though, I people watch. I could eat alone at a restaurant, no problem. But I like people watching. A lot of times, my wife.
You can just sit there and mouth breathe and not have any other sensory input.
Don't you like to eavesdrop though in restaurants? That's some of my favorite stuff. Is like when you identify like a first date going on or something, and then you kind of clock it a little bit.
My hearing is not good enough.
Nah, get the Whisper 2000 and get right over there.
Well,
I got an app for it.
I think it's 25 years of wearing headphones for a minimum of 4 hours a day. That tends to screw up your hearing.
That will do it.
Really?
I can't do it. Yeah. Be careful.
Okay.
All right, just keep the volume at a reasonable level. All right, so yes on Oppenheimer. You don't know, and you're not going to see it with me, which is fine. I'm going to go see it by myself.
You should not see it. It's a long movie. I haven't seen it yet, but some people in this office went to go see it at like a 9-10 showing, and I'm like, you guys are insane because you got out at like 12:30.
No. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't start that movie past 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's late.
I wouldn't do it. No, I'm an early to bed type of guy.
Same.
All right. Well, we've exhausted the movie talk. I guess we'll get back to the football. We'll do it. We got preseason game number 1 tonight here at Gillette Stadium. Just for people, because this is something that the people who ask, I've been asked about the lighthouse and the video board already this season because I've been down here for camp, and I tell them the video board appears to be done.
I think so.
I think it is. Yeah. I think it is complete. Lighthouse.
Getting there.
Nearing completion.
Just needs a hat.
Both very impressive.
Yeah.
The very impressive structures. That video board.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's
huge.
ridiculous.
It is.
I'm only sad that just I can't see the foliage out of the press box anymore. Like I kind of always enjoyed. You had a little opening through that area, and I could always look out. Football, foliage, fall, friends,
sure,
football,
right?
F words, and now
Faith,
I can't see
family,
it.
foliage, football,
right?
Yeah.
And now I got the board, and that's fine. It'll probably help me see things a little bit better. But I'll miss the seeing out the stadium. I like that.
Well, actually help you see the game because that press box angle that you guys get up there, not great.
No,
it's
not.
Not.
A catty corner.
Yeah, it's way up high and it's kitty corner up there, and it's just.
I got binoculars though. It's all right. Don't worry. I'll be okay.
So we'll get a chance to see that tonight. We'll get a chance to see probably some of this offense functioning with a new offensive coordinator. That has been a big topic of the preseason.
I like that you use the word functioning.
Let's go ahead and say it. I mean, we're not gonna hurt anybody's feelings. No, I mean
I'm
it was
just saying.
dysfunctional.
Yeah,
last year.
it was, and
It
I
was
think that
dysfunctional.
it's like the theme. If you listen closely to the press conferences this preseason, they've been like normal. Like it's been the words normal has been used a lot. The words like trust, communication, like on the same page, like those words have been used a ton.
Yeah,
and it's like I feel like that's for good reason because last year a lot of those things were missing.
And without turning it into an indictment of last year or the decisions to run the offense the way they did last year, I just think it is, Mr. Positive here, pregame of preseason game number 1. It's a great step in the right direction that you've got a big change in the way the team runs from that standpoint. And maybe my eyes were just telling me what my brain wanted to see, but it looked good even in training camp. Like the way they moved through plays, the way plays were communicated. There wasn't a lot of standing around with a couple of different coaches, faces buried in a play sheet talking about stuff. It's just things just kind of move. They just kind of flowed.
Yeah, it's a good point. It seems like they're have moved with purpose, and it kind of struck me from the first time we got to talk to Bill O'Brien this spring, and it was just. It's the presence he has. He's a former, college coach at Penn State. He coached the Texans for a long time. He just instantly has that kind of presence about him, and it carried over onto the field. You can just see it's like, I don't want to call him a mad scientist. But he just looks like he knows what he's doing. He's got a plan. He knows what he's looking for. He's largely left alone to do it. And, so far it hasn't looked always great, and I don't think that you can expect it to look always great in training camp through 2 weeks and whatever they've had 4 padded practices.
Right.
But you see the progress, and I think that's what you're kind of hoping for when they get to the joint practices. That all right, we're going to start to see a little bit more, but I still don't think you can truly judge what it's going to look like or how it's going to be until you get into the games, and that's really when Bill O'Brien comes with the advantages he comes with, all the experience and the ability to put defenses in a bind, the things that they're not trying to do in practice where they're like, all right, let's run this play. Whereas, all right, this is what the defense is giving us right now. I remember a famous clip with Bill O'Brien back when he was originally with the team, saying something to the effect, they'd be real hard to cover Randy on this one, real hard to get to Randy on this one. He just knows that strategy. And so I think those things are all real positive. And, it seems like him and Mac are working well together. And, it's just once we get to that first game, I think that's when we'll really start to see, all right, what's it really going to look like when it's the other team's defense is trying to make plays too, and you're able to kind of spin the dial a little bit on them.
I feel like the fans were also really excited about the change too. I mean, like the numbers at training camp, like I feel like it was really good.
Those first couple days were outstanding, and then there was that weird day where it was the nicest day. It may have even been like day 3, and I'm like, where is everybody? This is the day to be here.
Yeah.
But the numbers were good, and I think the irony with Bill O'Brien is because I've heard this a lot too. His offense being described as complex, and it's a complex offense. And Mac's got a lot to learn, and Bailey's had a lot to learn, and the receivers and the offensive line, all this stuff. But even with the added complexity, it looks smoother, and things appear. I'm not saying they're completing every pass, and believe me, the offensive line is still an issue. You see a lot of those reps in training camp where it's like, oh, he would have been croaked there. They're not sacking the quarterback, obviously, but at least the plays are getting off, and they're moving through the play, even with the added complexity.
Yeah. And I would just say,
that's
too,
the irony.
Like, no, false starts or huddle back up, those things haven't been happening.
Or confusion,
right? Like they, I mean, there have been a couple moments here or there where no, down there, getting guys lined up, that kind of stuff. But, there just aren't the pre-snap brain farts, which is something that happened in games last year and something that, they just have to avoid this year. They have to be more disciplined. I'd even flip it over to the other side of the ball with the defense where, last week we saw them take a lapse suddenly, and I think what we were able to kind of infer was that it was a substitution problem. And, you talk about some of the problems with the offense last year. That was, some of the problems with the defense last year, having the right guys on, making sure that, we have the right number of guys on the field, the right guys, in packages on the field. So overall, I think those aspects of the coaching, it's been smooth. There haven't been a lot of screw-ups and obvious mistakes where, oh, God, everybody's taking a lap. That one lap by the defense, stood out as the only time it's really happened.
Paul, how was the chin wag?
It was good. Good getting my feet wet. First one of the year. New crew. No more Beetle. Jim Murray now in for Beetle.
Yeah, Beetle's going to work like 4 games or something this year.
Yeah, I had heard about that. I had talked to him about that a little bit.
Yeah, he is unbelievable, that one. All right. No, I'm fine, though. And we did talk about, I know you like to know what you missed. We talked about the movies Barbie and Oppenheimer.
I have not seen either one
There
yet.
you go.
So you would have been as much help as Deuce was.
You saw them both?
No, I didn't see either one, but then I invited him to go see Oppenheimer with me, and he told me to kick rocks.
Yeah, I shot him down.
He said he
You don't want to see it?
I don't date. No, I don't know.
He doesn't want to go to the movies with me. I said,
I would love to.
I said, we'll go, like Saturday night, we'll go to the movies together. I'm going to be alone this weekend.
You'll probably make me golf, though, and you'll be like, well, let's just get a quick round of 18. And I'm like, I don't golf, and and then we got a whole thing on our hands.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Like this one friend of mine invited me to play in this tournament and then told me after the fact it's a 7 a.m. shotgun start, like an hour and a half from my house. And I'm like, after I already agreed to do it.
I think it's 7:30.
Oh, was this person in the room?
7:30 shotgun start. Like, it might as well be in Maine.
I know,
it's so far from my house.
I know you're not going to believe this, but as God is my witness, when I did invite you, I did not remember it being a 7:30 start.
Yeah, so for a shotgun, it's like you got to be there like 7 minimum.
Plus, you got to get out to like the 6th hole or something in the middle
Well,
of
that's what
nowhere
I'm saying.
for the
That's
shotgun
what
start.
you got to be there early.
Carting out there.
Like,
can't even go to the tee, the first tee, right?
Whatever.
Well, you get the carts all in the same place there, Deuce.
But you got to drive.
Don't start.
Sorry, I'm not going to play on your golf side of the street. I'll step away.
Let's go to Todd in North Carolina, joining us now on the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Dunkin, 855-PATS-500. Hi, Todd. What's up?
Like everybody says, I love the consistency with you there, Hardy, and I also like the fact that we're getting the girls in there. That's nice to hear, too. So I just want one quick question for each of you to answer. What could you see today that would make you go, hey, I think we got something there? And that's it. That's all I want to hear. Thanks,
good
guys.
question.
Bye.
Good question. I like that. One thing you could see today, and with the caveat of who's most likely to be out there playing, say, oh, I think we got something there.
Keon White, man amongst boys.
Okay.
That's a good one. How about Chad Ryland?
A little Jiminy Glick in him on that.
That's a good one. Tell us more.
I don't know who that is.
Kill me with your football acumen.
I don't know.
Tell me more.
It's a Martin Short character.
I don't know who that is, but that made me laugh.
Oh, my God. It's hysterical.
I'm going to go with Chad Ryland. Yeah. Chad Ryland just being nails tonight. Talked a little bit about the differences in the winds inside the stadium. I think it's going to be sloppy. I think there'll be good testing weather conditions tonight.
Wet?
For a rookie kicker. I think it's supposed
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't know exactly what it is tonight, but I think it's supposed to rain heavily. I think there's going to be some wind in the stadium. First game ever. If he comes out of that and makes like 3 field goals and 4 or 5 kicks all together, extra points, field goals.
All right.
I think you'd say, okay, we got a good young rookie kicker here.
Can I ask you, Patriots insider fellas, a question about somebody that I thought I may have had a bit of an answer on so far, but I got nothing? You got anything on Mike Gesicki?
Good. I mean, good couple of days recently. Kind of quiet start to camp.
I'll say.
Yeah, I mean,
I couldn't tell you when he was out there in the 2 weeks I was there.
I don't think he'll play tonight.
I don't think he's going to play tonight, but has he done anything?
Last couple of days he's had a couple one-handed catches that were pretty.
He's gotten open a little bit.
I love the one-handed catches when it's perfectly plain that you could get the second hand up there, but you choose not to.
The two that he made this week, he had no shot. They were impressive catches.
Okay,
but what I like more than those catches, because The second one was an incredible catch, by the way. I just thought he showed up a little bit more conventionally, getting open, little routine pitches and catches, some quick outs, some little curl routes. What you like to call them? He's sit route,
pitch,
pitch. Some of those that you kind of see. I think the last Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah,
those are the last 2 days we got to see.
Yeah,
started to see him a little bit more. Started to see, I think Hunter Henry's been their best player offensively in camp.
There's one of my questions here for you that I wanted to get to. Give me your best 3 Patriots players projected, not just from what you've seen in camp, but who are your best 3 players on the team right now?
Start with Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's been really active and just gets a ton of targets when he's doing all the practice. There's times where they were kind of managing him, but he looks like a beast again. I think he'll be really involved.
So he is one of your best 3 players on the Patriots.
The best 3 players on the Patriots. That's a heavy question.
It's a heavy question.
Matthew Judon would be one.
Matthew Judon is number 1 for me. I believe he is your best overall football player on the team right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal your Ramondre Stevenson as one of my 3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pair up 2 and 3. It gets a little tougher when you get to 3, isn't it? I've got one, but I'm more interested in what you guys have to say.
I mean, it's tough. I could maybe be positive and say Uche could maybe be in the mix. Juwan Bentley maybe could be in that mix.
I'm going to say Kyle Duggar.
That's mine, Kyle Duggar. But it is a conversation, and I think it is notable that I'm hopeful that Mac Jones or one of the receivers,
one of the linemen,
Trent Brown ends up being a guy that it should be Trent Brown, and hopefully it will be Mac Jones. Will be one of your top 3 guys here midway through the season. But right now, you're probably going with a couple of defensive guys and Ramondre.
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you could look at that a couple of different ways and say that's not a great thing, that you can't really come up with three guys easily. But maybe you could look at it and say, I have a hard time narrowing it down to 3. Like if health, I think there's a question mark, and that's the problem with a lot of the things the Patriots are trying to do. There's a lot of ifs, right? Fully healthy. Can Christian Barmore be one of those 3 guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I love the guy coming out, but I have to be completely honest. In 2 years, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those ones.
I see flashes.
It should be.
Yeah, I see flashes of ability that I saw at Alabama, but I haven't seen it consistently.
I just think there's a number of guys on defense that you could highlight as potential guys. I mean, I think I said Bentley, Jonathan Jones. I mean, they're all kind of right there. I think it's more of on the offensive side of the ball. It's hard to really make an argument for anybody past.
Uche got elevated by his play at the end of last season.
Yeah,
I'm
not nearly as high on Uche.
Well, yeah. I just just take it easy with the recency bias, because there wasn't a lot being said about him, period, through 10 weeks.
Well, I mean,
12 weeks.
This time last year, he was kind of feeling a little bit busty.
Oh, I thought you meant ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom.
No, he's very cut. No,
he had a great second half of the year. I think he puts himself in position that if he can duplicate that, he's going to get paid big time as an edge rusher coming up back-to-back double-digit sack seasons.
Let's talk about guys getting paid, specifically the player that we just mentioned here moments ago, Judon, with the new contract.
Yep.
I had a couple of million guaranteed. Now it is much more, 12, 13. I mean,
they took some from next year and they moved it into this year.
Right. So, but it is more money.
Yeah.
It is more money that he is making.
Yeah, it went from about 12.5 to 14.
Okay.
Guaranteed. Now he can make more than that. I think he can make up to 18.
But it was enough of a bump to where any talk of a hold in, which was a nice phrase I heard bandied about during the first couple of weeks of training camp. He'd be out there for warm-ups, and then he was like, hey, where'd Judon go?
And then conveniently, the day after that news broke, he had about 17 sacks in practice that day.
How'd you feel about everything? Just the timeline, the actual deal. What do you make of it? We'll start with Mike Defense Dussault.
Yeah, I mean, deserved. I mean, they signed him to a free agent deal. Not all those worked out. He's one that did work out. Now, has it, been great game 1 to game 17? Maybe there has been some tail off, but he's obvious. When you said his name, there's no question. Matthew Judon's kind of the face of the Patriots right now, and keeping him happy is a key thing. I mean, I like Uche, but there's a huge drop off after Judon. Huge drop off. So he's really valuable to them. And we'll see. We're probably going to do this dance again next year.
Yeah, I really liked it because of the reasons why Mike said. He signed a big contract. I mean, they did not get him on a team-friendly deal when they signed him, but as much as they paid for him, he immediately outperformed that based on the market.
Yep.
And I think the Patriots rightly went to him and worked with him a little bit. And I think that's ideally how you want your team to. You want your team like spending like drunken sailors, but you also don't want your team to take advantage of a situation like that.
Yeah.
You want to make sure they keep the personnel happy too. So I was really happy when they came to that agreement.
I was trying to justify his, let's just call it a drop-off in play at the end of last season by theorizing that, once teams get a chance to see him once and maybe they're double-teaming that side of the field and maybe they're giving him more attention. It was Johnson once again said, no, don't let him off the hook that easily. He was not impressed, thought it was unnecessary to rework the contract. I said, don't you think, he's the best player out there? He's I think he is, and I don't think Ted thinks he's a bad player, but there is at least a few people who think it would have been okay for him to continue to play for that same money, and that, like you said, Paul, it wasn't a team-friendly deal that he signed in the first place.
No, they gave him good money.
They gave him good money. I just think he is, and I ultimately disagreed. I think he's good enough. He did earn it, and quite frankly, you need him. And you need him happy and engaged
that to me is the bottom line. That's why I was happy with it.
Right. Can you afford to not have Matthew Judon playing well this season?
No, and even off the field, like his press conferences, the energy he brings to this team, he brings a lot of fun to this team, and with his personality.
Now, what I would worry about, because you guys know me, I tend to worry about what's going to happen and not what's already happened. I just look at the similarities between the Gilmore situation a couple of years ago when, Gilmore outperformed his contract, which also was a top-of-the-market contract when he signed it, and then a couple of years later it was team-friendly suddenly, right? So they gave him some money from the following year, and they gave it to him up front, and then the next year is when he did the hold-in thing, and they ended up trading him.
Yeah.
So that would worry me down the road. Now, is this going to be like a contract year for Judon, even though he has another year left after this?
And see, but what I would worry about too is just that Judon, he's not going to contribute to this team when they're ready to be back and contending. I don't think that they are this year or next year
this
away.
Guy.
That's. He's getting up there. You're kind of getting peak Judon. Like you're hoping you're sticking with the peak right now because he's getting old. It's going to tail off a little bit. So that's a concern for me. Is he going to be part of the future here? Probably not. So how much, do you want to expend on that? Or do you want to let somebody else come in and maybe prove themselves?
Well, like Paul, I also tend to worry about what could happen. I call it playing that tape to the end. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen just in terms of dates and prior commitments with another player on the defense, and that's Jack Jones, who I was surprised to find appears to be in the good graces of the team right now. He's out there practicing. He's doing everything. He's going to have some conflicts, I believe, starting with the Green Bay game.
Yep.
He has a court date coming up.
Yep.
Were you surprised to see him out there as a full participant and doing everything? And what do you make of that situation, Paul?
I think it's a little odd. I was surprised that they didn't release him. But when they didn't release him, I wasn't overly surprised to see him on the field at practice. Now, I would say that what they did was they sort of middled it. And we're not supposed to really talk about starters and whatever, but he's generally been with the backups. He hasn't really taken a ton of reps with the rest of the guys that are going to be
until Jonathan Jones went down. He was,
right. So I do think they're kind of middling it in terms of we got to keep him ready and sharp, but we also have to plan for life in case we're not going to have him.
See, and I understand what you're saying. That's a good point. To me, middling it would have been, okay, you're still on the team. You're still getting paid something, but you're not playing until this thing is settled. That would be the ultimate middling it, and we're not going to release you, but you can't be out here playing football with this hanging over your head.
That's a good point.
To me, that's something I thought would have been a likely scenario. It didn't end up happening. And then there was the issue of him leaving practice one day.
That was odd.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
That was really odd.
The whole thing is odd where it's like, what team am I watching here? The team where, something like this happens, the guy's, participating with the twos, okay, not necessarily as a starter, but also a guy who has some kind of an issue with another player or a coach or something, leaves practice voluntarily, and then is allowed to return?
Yeah, the thing with Jack Jones to me that I don't really understand is, Mike, you can correct me. That day that he left, we sort of all inferred that he made this play, he got up, he was celebrating, and maybe he was a little overzealous, got yelled at, and told to leave. I don't think he was told to leave. I think he just got yelled at and left.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, because he came back. So, I mean, if he was told to leave and then he came back, that's what, right? Like,
but
it's weird.
How do you leave of your own volition, if that's the right word? And
Caveat.
Then
if that's the right word.
And then be allowed to come back.
I don't know. I mean, it was just,
it was weird.
I don't know. It was more weird. I mean, we've seen guys get kicked out of practice. We've seen guys walk off the field. Jabril Peppers got his hand around him and talking to him. I just never seen anybody come back out. Like I've never seen that happen before. And then he just kind of stood there watching. All the players said, "Oh, it's he's a competitive guy and it's in the past now." But it's just hard to say. This is a kid that fell to whatever round he was in, 4th round, I think.
Yep.
Because of off the field issues, multiple off the field issues in college. Ended last season, suspended, then got this issue at the airport, and then storms off. So it's like, at what point is it just this is too much?
So when I say that I'm surprised that he didn't get cut when he got arrested, obviously you're going to get some blowback from Patriots fans and whatnot, and I understand that. You want your players, you want your team to sort of figure out a way to make it work. That's why I was surprised. It's not just because of what he did, which I think is ridiculously serious, and so many people just gloss over it. Who hasn't made a mistake? That's not a mistake. But when you draft a guy in the 4th round with 2 X's already, 2 strikes, 1 more and you're out, and then he proceeds to get suspended, arrested, and has some sort of issue at practice, when is the 3rd strike coming with this guy? Because to me, it just seems there's an air of inevitability. It's coming. You're going to have to cut him, so you might as well just cut him.
I mean, that's assuming that he's not on his 2nd strike on his 2nd time up. I think he's already struck out once.
And can he play? Yeah, I think he has some ability. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. I think he gambles on every single pass, and sometimes he looks good on it. I think there's been a lot of comparisons to J.C. Jackson. I don't see it. I don't remember J.C. Jackson jumping every single route to get his interceptions. I think this guy might have more ability than J.C. Jackson, but I think J.C. Jackson was more consistent.
Yes,
and the way he plays, he's going to be a high risk, high reward kind of player, and I'm not sure that's what you want.
We're looking at warmups right now, by the way.
Are we? We don't have the monitor on.
I know the
studio.
monitor hasn't been on.
Okay.
All right. Do we need a new monitor? Because those can be had at BJ's for $11.
I think it's $11.95 with tax.
Seriously,
But
I mean, I bought a.
We're missing opportunities to get all the new numbers, Deuce. Can you tell me the power cord by
the
any
converter
chance?
probably costs more than the monitor. I bought a 50-inch version, same brand, and it cost me $15. So, all right, I'm glad it's a converter. Looking out there. So apparently we're going to have some weather to deal with tonight. I got a little rain coming in here, so it's a little something to
conditions. I mean, it's been a great training camp though. You were out there, Hardy. I mean, those first few days were just, crisp, gorgeous. He's plugging things in. Don't worry about it.
A little close.
Look away.
A little close.
But yeah, now here in the last couple of days, we're getting some rain. Real gross last week.
There
Humidity.
was one really hot day. There was one really windy day, and then there was one cold day. were up on that platform. I think you guys were done by then, but I, needed a jacket and a hoodie and my muff, and I didn't have any of those things.
You didn't have your muff?
I did not have my muff.
What a shame.
So during camp, there was a lot of talk from one show in particular here in town.
Paul's shows?
About
one of my shows?
One of your shows, yes. Yes, your show, Bailey Zappi. And how he was, there was a competition and how the numbers were the same. And it was Bedard who gave, a
retort.
The retort, and it was kind of a harder one, but he was absolutely right. He's like, come to practice, actually witness a practice, and you may not be saying the same thing. I did not think, and everybody, unless you've got a clear-cut, all-pro starting quarterback, I think everybody likes the idea of a quarterback competition because it raises the level for both guys.
Bill Belichick likes that.
Belichick likes it. Well, he dislikes quarterbacks. So, to see them, in some kind of a contest probably pleases him. But I liked the idea of a quarterback competition. I didn't see one. From, I would say, second day of camp, I saw Bailey Zappi. I thought he did a fine job. I saw Mac Jones, and I said, there's a guy who looks like, I don't know if he's going to be great. I don't know if he's going to win you 10 games, but he looks like he can go start a game in the NFL tomorrow.
Yeah,
the way he handled himself on the field, and to me, I never saw much of a competition.
And some of the stuff that we're showing now, you see he's fully dressed tonight, ready to go. I don't think we'll see him, but I just think it's what Bill Belichick likes to do. He wants to make sure that everybody's ready to go, whether they're playing or not, and none of that. What did Sean Payton say? None of those bucket hats on the side. None of the Gilligan. None of the Gilligan hats.
Huh, Sean
no
Payton?
Gilligan hats on the sideline. With Matt, I would agree with you. There's been no competition. I would say not necessarily based on performance.
Oh.
I would say if you watched all the practices, I'm with Deuce. Deuce and I have been talking about this every day with Evan Lazar. It's clear. I mean, Mac Jones is the starter. There has been no competition. It's the quote-unquote front line guys, the starter guys he's with. He starts every drill. He throws to those guys every day. Zappi gets a lot of reps too. I think for the most part, the performances have been pretty similar. I think Monday and Tuesday, Zappi took a clear step back. Zappi was not as good this week as he was last week.
Yep.
But I think that the offense in general has been kind of meh.
Sporadic.
They've had their moments. I thought there was one day, I don't know, I want to say maybe last Thursday, where they really started clicking.
Mm-hmm.
The red zone, it was like touchdown after touchdown in the red zone.
excited.
Both guys. I thought Zappi was throwing some really, really good passes in tight quarters. They had that one in the corner to Juju on the quick one.
Pretty.
Some good connections. I think they both had their moments. I think clearly Mac Jones is the starter,
Well-
just by the way they've conducted practices.
Do you connect it at all to what we saw how they divided up the reps when Cam Newton was here and Mac was here that summer, where it was kind of weird? Where
that was different.
Like Cam took one set of reps right at the beginning, and then it was like all Mac.
But Mac with the same
interesting.
guys that Cam was with. Zappi hasn't had very many of those opportunities.
Okay, so that's a great way of looking at it, and probably a more definitive way of saying who the starter. To me, it's not a question of who the starter is. I'm surprised that you didn't think Mac looked better. I mean, he seems
He has
throws
looked better.
he throws the ball and runs the offense and everything he does with more conviction, I think, than Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
And again, not all these stats.
I get that.
Not all these completions
I get
are
what you're saying.
created equal. You know, Mac's 12 for 14 one day, and Zappi's 11 for 13. And it's like, oh my God, they're neck and neck. I'm like, some of these are screens out to the
biggest
flat
thing
that are just like, so what?
And I don't blame you guys for doing it, because I understand why. Like, Big Jim Murray's putting it in his update, and you're doing it in your update. You know, that's what the fans want to hear. Like, I'm not making fun of anybody, but the biggest disservice that we as a media corps do is chart all this crap every single day. It's completely and utterly meaningless for the reasons that you just said.
Right.
Like, some days are defensive days. The ball's not necessarily, some days you can clearly see the defense will be right in position, and then they stop and let the ball get caught.
Right.
Some days it's all screens and checkdowns, while the other guy is trying to force it into double coverage downfield because he's supposed to, and it goes down as bad throw. I think the way you put it, like in terms of conviction, running things, I think if you look more conventionally, Mac is the guy.
Right.
I think if you watch sometimes, Mac will pull the ball down and run it, whereas Zappe will move around and throw a sidearm pass. And it doesn't look all that good sometimes, but he's trying to make a play. Who's to say which one is right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you ask me who's looked better, I would say it's Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all that different, to be honest with you, though. I would say Mac Jones is better, but
not if you wouldn't mind.
I think it's one of those deals like if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one.
But you wouldn't mind getting a look at Zappe. I think like I'm of the opinion I'd love to see Zappe just get a chance. Not to say I'm rooting for the quarterback competition. I'd just like to see him get an opportunity with some of those upper level guys, just to see what it looks like. But I think you nailed it with Mac will tuck it and run, and Zappe will try a sidearm, sideline.
And sometimes it looks like crap.
Yeah.
When he does it, like he's definitely. And I got to talk to him yesterday a little bit about this as
What
part
were you
of
talking all these players for?
the TV production
That's
stuff.
that's why he won't. That's why he's saying.
Like,
this.
what's going on? Paul's back in the locker room all of a sudden.
He just talked to him
So
yesterday.
no, but like just part of some of the ways he talked. He's worked a lot of. He's small. Like he's like, listen, I wish I was 6'5".
Yeah.
But I'm not. And Tom. He talked about how Tom could stand in the pocket and have these picturesque mechanics because he could throw over the line. He goes, I got to find a way to throw around it and through it. And he said he has worked a lot on some of those arm angles
It's
and
shown.
things.
I mean,
and
it's-
sometimes I'm telling you, the accuracy just goes when he does it.
Well, that's the big thing Paul points out, and I think you're totally right about is Zappe struggles with some of the, just like the little underneath crossers. Like Mac doesn't miss those.
No.
But sometimes Zappe, either he can't see it or he goes, different arm angle, and it looks a little bit more clunky. But yeah, I'm excited for joint practices, though. I think that you'll get a little bit more sense of those guys.
And to your point, I hope we get a chance to see Zappe a little bit more often in those joint practices with and against
Give him
better
a chance.
better players.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna be. I'm sorry. What's that? Yeah, we'll get to the over. You want to do the over-unders right now? Marine Matt, let's do it, buddy.
No big whoop.
It's time for this week's edition of Over-Unders.
You're over me? When were you under me?
Marine Matt, kind enough to put the season totals from last season.
Yes, why don't we read those?
No, I think
I didn't update the numbers.
Oh, that's why.
And
they're wrong.
Paul did win, though.
Oh.
Paul,
are you
you did
talking
win
about?
last year. I just didn't update the numbers.
What are
Those
you
are
talking
actually the
about?
numbers from week 17.
Did I win
It's
too?
a-
week
No,
18.
you were.
You know what I mean.
I'm looking at the numbers right now, and Paul and I tied, and Deuce came in second.
So
Correct.
What was Deuce doing?
Then the final week happened.
Hardy.
And if you add those numbers on top of these numbers, Paul won.
I understand how math works. I'm saying if that is the case, I don't have any evidence of it. I tied for the win.
I've got the evidence in that room.
Oh, well, that's a great place for it. Whatever.
All right.
It's a new season. Let's begin.
Bailey Zappe series 1.5.
Hey, I guess I'm up first. Hey, let's start it off. I'm gonna go over. I don't think a ton over, but I'd say at least 2 or 3.
Series, an entire series. I'm going to go over.
Going backwards.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what did you go with?
I went over.
Over. Paul?
Why are we going backwards?
I don't know.
Oh, Hardy
I
usually goes
screw-
last.
I guess
huh?
I screwed up.
That's okay, Hardy.
It's
If he
preseason
get-
for us
he
too.
goes-
We
if
set
he-
the pace, Hardy.
If he goes under, though, shenanigans, and we call it all off.
No. Let's call the whole thing off. No, I'm going to go over as well. I think he has 2 series tonight.
Okay. All right, good. I haven't screwed it up.
Because I think if he opens the series and goes 11 plays, 75 yards, touchdown, I think
You're out.
we lose.
Yeah, you lose.
Pierre Strong rushing yards 50.5.
All right, Paul, I think 2.
I'm going to take the under on that. I don't think he will be out there long enough to get 50.5 yards. Unless he breaks off a long run, which happens in the preseason,
It's the
Mike.
worst run defense last year.
You just talked me into it. I'm going over.
I'm gonna go under.
Paul Perillo TV appearances in the first half 1.5.
Oh.
I have some inside information on this. Pound the over. Absolutely bet the house on the over for Paul Perillo TV appearances.
One of the guys you work with didn't even know if I was still on the broadcast.
Well, you told me you're going to be on a lot more than once.
I didn't say that.
You said
I better be.
They better be.
I'm going over 2. They got to get more than 1.5 with Paul on this one.
But in the first half now.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter is usually the time for me to shine.
They're only going to go to you once in the whole first half? What are you doing there?
It's
Just
Malik Cunningham, sponsored by Paul Perillo. I will take the over of myself. I have to bet on myself.
Good.
Bet on yourself.
Total team points for the Patriots, 16.5.
Yikes. Back to you, Deuce.
Oh, I'm going to start positive. I'm going to go over. I want to see some points scored tonight.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go over as well because I cannot possibly root for a game where one team does not score 16 points. 16.5.
Yeah, it's not a great thing to root for, but you know me, the action is the juice, so I'm going under.
Number of Jaws references in the postgame, 1.5.
Oh, there's 0 for the pregame, right?
Yeah, we
mentioned the movie Jaws.
We stuck to Brewster's Millions, but I think it would have been 1.
Yeah.
If we went for because we did mention Jaws once. But I'm going to say under, although that's something that can easily be manipulated by the host.
Anybody. We all have a live mic.
Jaws.
Right. Does that put it over if he does that?
No.
Okay.
They have to be.
How about it's got to be in context?
And we have to talk. We have to actually talk about it.
Has to be a good reference.
Just to talk about it.
Sense.
Just to show you, I'm going under also.
All right, I'm gonna go over, but I won't cheat. Like I'm gonna let it be organic, and I have to bring it up. Like somebody crushes a beer can, something like that. I got to bring it up. Yeah.
Fine.
Mr. Hooper.
And as always, we end with the total score of 36.5.
Is this me?
No.
Back to. No. Hardy.
Well, I hate that. Well, we're waiting. I have to go under. I'm taking the Pats at under 16.5. So I gotta go under.
I'm gonna go under too. I think the Pats will score, but maybe not the Texans.
Over. Come on.
All right. No, it's more fun to root for. That's for sure. But
Gotta-
the book. The book they always pad this thing for the over because the betting public loves the over. That number is artificially inflated.
I believe it.
All right. Very good. By the way, either one of you seen the After the Bite documentary on HBO or Max, as it is now called?
After the Bite.
After the fatal shark attack Cape Cod a few years ago, and they did a documentary about sharks on Cape Cod. It's a 90-minute full-length documentary. Talks a lot about seals, talks a lot about the shark tagging, a lot about the beaches.
Beaches will be open.
There is a guy that may as well be the mayor.
Really? He's just
from
like,
Amity.
what are you going to do?
He's like,
the shark's here.
Those beaches will be open.
Yeah. How can you do an hour and a half, though? It's like the seals are here, the sharks are here.
My biggest criticism of it is it could have been 3 hours long. They could have done 3 1 hours.
Did you see the
so
video
much
that was making the rounds like a week ago of the swimmers and paddleboat?
Oh, yeah, and they're like
the
right
shark
there.
was inside it.
Yeah.
Like,
which is more common, I guess, than years ago
Sharks
when we were
everywhere.
down like North Carolina, and a friend of my sister's is a real marine biologist, not a George Costanza. And I was asking him about sharks because I'm a simp, and he looks at me and he says, "There's your shark." And this was after we were all out of the water and we were down there like at dusk, and there was a shark swimming in that same manner in about the same amount of water,
like 10 feet offshore.
You're right, and just going back and forth looking for like food, bait
Dust.
fish. And
You
I
can't-
said,
can't dust.
I'm like, what kind of shark? And again, this is a guy who knows
Tiger
stuff.
shark.
And he says,
A
from this
what?
distance, there's only 2 types of sharks. He goes, hammerheads and not a hammerhead. That's not a hammerhead. He kind of like got up on his toes and he's like, that's all we know. But I said,
Marine
marine biologist, life of the party.
But yeah, he really was. I'm like, when do you think it got here? Like at dusk, like they say? 'Cause
right.
he's like, it was always there. They're just not interested. They're really not. You saw the video of that shark swimming through, 50 people? Like, could have taken a chomp out of any. I'm not a pro shark. I'm not like,
I know what you're
protect all that same. But it's like, really, for the most part, they're not.
Yeah.
They're just not. That's not what they're looking for. Not to say you should mess with one, because they're ill-tempered. That's what I'm hearing.
It sounds like a good this or that.
Oh, we could. We absolutely could do that. All right, so here's what's happening in the postgame. We will be back here to comprehensively break down everything you see on the field here tonight, from the players to the coaches to the scoreboard to everything that this game has to offer.
Patriots' first touchdown tonight, scored by
Kevin Harris.
Hardy?
Malik Cunningham.
Wow, you really are negative.
What? He's
Malik
run it
Cunningham.
in.
That's going to be like fourth quarter. I got to
running around.
You think it's going to be the fourth quarter before we see Malik Cunningham?
Yeah, at quarterback.
Okay.
Oh, what? You know what? You're right. He could catch a touchdown pass in the second quarter. I like Mike's pick. Just to be different, I'm going to go with Kayshon Boutte.
Oh, man. The fans would love that one.
He's a bubble guy, isn't he?
He's a bubble guy. Big-time bubble guy.
Are you guys as high on Douglas as the rest of the world is right now?
Mike is, Paul isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
It does. It really does. And I just said, like, on the chin wag, that I have been very impressed with Douglas in that as a rookie, I've seen over 20-plus years a lot of different examples of young receivers, young players coming in and flashing. I haven't seen a lot of examples of young receivers coming in flashing every single day, and he's done it every single day. So I've been impressed with him. But at the same time, I don't think that translates to we got our number one receiver, which I've heard a lot of. He's the best receiver in camp. I've heard that. I'm just not that impressed with him.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening and watching. Very quickly, Dom's Sausage, the official steak tip of the New England Patriots. You can order them online for nationwide delivery at domsausage.com. Use promo code PATS15 for 15% off. That's promo code PATS15. We'll talk to you after the game.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.